name's Nicole, and this is the CK Diary Podcast. This is my podcast where I talk about anything that I'm making, crocheting, knitting, sewing, anything that I'm up to this week. So this week, I don't have any finished knitting or crocheting objects. I only have finished sewn objects. Ooh, but before I dive into that, a couple of videos ago, Lee asked if I was still enjoying my teas, and I am. I've mostly been drinking them at night, but I am still drinking tea, and I thought I would bring some on the podcast today. This is one of the teas that my husband got me from London. It is called Famous Teas Royal Blend from Fortnum and Mason. It doesn't say what's in the tea, it just says that it has a smooth honey flavor. It is a black tea though. Okay, so let's go ahead and dive into my finished objects. So this week I only have project bags as finished objects. I've decided to start adding canvas material into my store. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll know that I said that I won't only be doing canvas bags, but I think it will be a new staple in my store. I made these little handles. I'm going to start adding handles to my bags. Again, maybe not all of them, but most of them probably. And then they still have the leather drawstring cord. I still plan to do cotton bags and maybe add in some linen. I did just buy some linen fabric and I really like it. I like the way it feels. I like the way it looks. It's a woven linen, I believe. And then these are the last of my 90s bags. I made 4 of these. One, I posted them late last night at it was probably early this morning. I posted them at midnight or a little after midnight. And one of them already sold this morning. So I have 3 left in the shop. This one does have a cotton blend cord. I couldn't find a cotton cord that was pure white. The only cotton cord that I could find was like a tan color, and I thought the white looked really nice with the teals and blues and pinks. And it also has a handle. The way I do the handle is it'll sit like that, straight against your bag, and then you can pop it up whenever you're holding it. I added the handle because I go to the park a lot with my boys, and while we're walking around, I'll knit as we go, as we jump around to different parts of the park. And having just the drawstring cord, I was trying to hold it by the drawstring cord, and the bag was shutting. So I decided to go ahead and add handles to the bags, and I like the way they look so far. And that was it for finished objects this week. I only have worked on one knitted work in progress this week, and that is my Corey and poncho. So, last time you guys saw this, I only had the ribbing for the neck done. And I was getting kind of nervous about doing the short rows, which was so silly. It ended up being so easy. I actually really enjoyed the process of doing the short rows. Here they are. I believe these were German short rows. I love the way it looks. I love the way it turned out, and I loved the process of knitting it. Now, when I am all done, right now, it's a 2-round repeat, and I just finished the 32nd repeat. So that's 64 rounds altogether of the body. When I finish the body, I'll do the ribbing, and the ribbing should end at a point. So I am really, really, really excited about finishing this up. I can't wait to block it. I'm hoping I will have it finished and blocked by the next episode. I know for sure I'll have the body done by the next episode, but I don't know how long the ribbing at the bottom will take. I haven't looked ahead that far. All right, and that was my only work in progress. Part of the reason why I started this podcast was to help encourage beginners like myself make the things that they want to make, even if it's a little nerve-wracking or daunting. I know that when you see patterns that say advanced beginner or beginners with a lot of confidence, or even just intermediate or advanced patterns, I know those things can be daunting, and When I went to make socks for the first time, a lot of people told me not to try to make socks as one of my first projects because they're too difficult. But really, with the tutorials that are available to us on YouTube now, it can be not necessarily easy, but the tutorials laid out for us in a way that makes it much more simple than maybe before YouTube tutorials were available. Before YouTube, or whenever YouTube tutorials were widely available, you would have to know somebody in your real life to be able to sit down with you and teach you how to do these things if you couldn't understand it just reading it, which I am a visual learner. I have to see somebody doing it with their hands for me to really be able to understand it. Once I get comfortable with something, I can read it and understand it, but if I don't see someone, whenever I first started knitting, you would not have been able to say what to do and I could have just followed it. I had to see it. So when it came to something like the short rows, I've heard a lot of people talk about short rows on advanced patterns. So in my head, I automatically let myself just be nervous about those short rows, and it was so easy. So if you come across something, if you come across a pattern that you want to do, or a pattern that is beginner friendly but has something in it that maybe makes you a little nervous, just dive in and try it. The worst thing that could happen is that you either have to ask for help, which beginners and people who've been knitting for a long time alike, they love helping. I've had so much help from people who've been knitting for decades and people who just started, like me. People are so willing to help and like to help. They want to help. Or you might have to take out the project, but it's not that big of a deal. It's just yarn, it's just knitting, and it's okay to take out a project that you're working on and turn it into something else, or take out a project that you're working on and try again. There's nothing wrong with that. When I run into something that doesn't necessarily come naturally to me, I psych myself out and I end up putting it up for a while. And that's what I did with my Korean poncho. And somebody had commented on one of my videos in the past and said that they were nervous about trying the short rows too, but then they did it and it was simple and they loved it. And I'm so glad that they posted that because it gave me the confidence to go ahead and try. And I am so glad that I did. So if you come across something that you're nervous about trying, just dive in. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Look for a YouTube tutorial, talk to people in your community, and I know that you can do it. The last thing I wanted to talk to you guys about today is local yarn store day. I know in my last podcast, I talked about maybe doing a vlog, like a day in my life type of vlog, and posting it on Monday or Tuesday, but I ended up not getting enough footage for that. The stores were incredibly busy. The stores that I went to, Knit and Stitch Boutique and She Sells Yarn, they were extremely busy, which is awesome. But I didn't want to film inside of the stores in case there were people that didn't want to be filmed. I know while I was in Knit and Stitch, somebody was taking a video and I heard a few women say, please don't get me in your video. So I didn't want to film just in case. But I know that, I believe it was She Sells Yarn posted a really nice picture of their store on local yarn store day. It was empty and it was just all of the yarn and everything they were offering that day. And if I can find one with Knit and Stitch Boutique, I'll go ahead and put that in too. But I'm just gonna do a little vlog at the end of this video. It's probably gonna be like 30 seconds to a minute long, just of our day, the yarn that I got, and then what we got up to that night after local yarn store day was over. I'll show you guys all the yarn that I got in the little vlog at the end of this video, but I thought I would show you it here as well so that I can go over the specifics with you. So the first store that I went to was Knit and Stitch Boutique in Cocoa Beach, Florida. Last time I went to Knit and Stitch Boutique, it was during the Orange Blossom Yarn Crawl, and there was a yarn dyer there that I had never heard of before doing a trunk show called Lonesome Pine Yarn Works. They have some of the most beautiful yarn that I've seen so far. They had a colorway there named Self Control, and I was so bummed that I ended up not grabbing it. I had thought about it a couple of times since the trunk show, but whenever I went to Knit and Stitch Boutique this time, they had it still. They had a couple of skeins left. It is so pretty. It is like a mauvey pink, and this color, I don't know if it really picks up on camera. I think it does. It's almost like an off-white yellowish color, and it has speckles all throughout. It is so beautiful. It is called Self Control. And then I got a coordinating mini skein, also called Self-Control. Both of these are fingering weight yarn, 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon. The full skein is 100 grams, of course, and then the mini skein is 20 grams. I don't think I'm going to use this for heels, toes, and cuffs because there is so much pink in this yarn. We'll see how it works up, but I think I'm going to add this into my Coziest Memories blanket. And then I'll show all of my mini skeins that I got next. So this is from the Copper Corgi. It is one of her Savannah sock minis. It's 1 ounce, 120 yards, 100% superwash merino, and the name's a little sad, but the yarn is so pretty. But the name is Wow, My Guitar Gently Weeps. I don't know, I meant to look it up before I filmed the podcast. I don't know if that's in reference to a song or a show or what it is, but the yarn's really beautiful. And then I got these two Emma's Yarn minis. It says that it's from Smoliday 2022. I don't really know what that is. I'm not really sure, but I love these minis. They kind of remind me of flowers, like remind me of a garden. And these are going to also go into my Coziest Memories blanket. This is the last skein of yarn that I got from Knit and Stitch Boutique on local yarn store day. This was their special colorway for the event. It's from Emma's Yarn. I don't know for sure for this particular event, but I know for the Orange Blossom Yarn Crawl, Emma's Yarn did the special colorway for all of the stores that were participating in Central Florida. I don't know if if this colorway was the colorway for local yarn store day for all of the stores in Central Florida for this particular event. But I know quite a few of the Central Florida yarn stores had this skein of yarn, and it is called Love My Local Yarn Shop. It is 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon, 400 yards, 100 grams. And part of the reason, I mean, I probably would have gotten the special colorway anyway, but part of the reason why I wanted to get this is because Crazy Sock Lady is doing her summer sock camp soon, and the theme is 90s, and I just thought this was perfect. I'm looking for, she had a coordinating mini skein that was like this grayish color, but I really want like a jet black, like a really dark black, to help these colors pop. So that is what I'm looking for next. And then the last couple of skeins of yarn that I got were from She Sells Yarn in Ormond Beach, Florida. I got this Cascade Heritage sock yarn. I did a giveaway with this same exact sock yarn 2 weeks ago, I think. This is 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon in the color navy, and I wanted it to make a pair of socks for my husband. That's what I originally got the other skein of yarn for, but I wanted to do a giveaway, and I don't have a local yarn store near me, so I used some of the yarn that I had in stock at my house, and then I replaced it whenever I went to She Sells Yarn. All right, I also got, let me show this one. I want to save that one for last. I also got this Practically Perfect Small, again from Emma's Yarn. This one's called 80s Rewind, and I thought this would be a really fun mini skein to put in my Coziest Memories blanket during summer sock camp, since it still has that like 80s, 90s feel. I thought that would just be a fun keepsake type of thing. All right, and then this last skein of yarn that I have is from Wonderland Yarns. This year they were doing, oh, what do they call it? They were doing their tour of the seasons. And I believe it was where they showed like mansions and castles from fiction. I think that's what it was. I remember at the end of last year finding out that they were doing this and wanting to sign up for it. But I knew I also wanted to build up a collection with yarns that I knew for sure that I would love. And this was a mystery skein subscription as far as I remember. And I wanted to make sure that I built up some of my collection with things that I know for sure I would love, know for sure I would use, know for sure that I would use for garments for myself, colors that I like on myself. So I decided not to sign up for any mystery like monthly subscriptions. There's still a couple of mystery things I've done. Like I have my Advent coming at the end of the year, and then I have the mystery box that I got from Suburban Stitcher, the afternoon tea party one. Those were mysteries, but I didn't want to sign up for a monthly mystery subscription this year because I wanted to build up my collection first with things that I knew I would use and knew I would love. But they had this at She Sells Yarn. It is one of their colorways from, or it is their colorway from January, and it is so beautiful. It is based off of Pride and Prejudice. So pretty. Let's see. It says this one is called Netherfield Hall. Let me take it out of the wrapper really quick so you can really see it. It is so pretty. And all of their collections come with a free pattern, or all of the subscription, like every month that you get, it comes with a free pattern. And then it comes with one of these little invitations, which I just think is so cute. This one says, New Year's Ball, the family of Mr. Bennett is invited to attend at Netherfield Park at 6 o'clock in the evening on January 1st, 2024. Mr. Charles Bingley, Esquire, and Miss Caroline Bingley. Super cute. And then on the back, they have a work in progress card where you can write down all the information about your yarn and what pattern you're making. And then they also give you this little space down here to punch out those holes and tie a piece of the yarn, a piece of the scrap yarn, which I thought was really neat, a really good idea. And then it came with these super cute Pride and Prejudice themed stitch markers. That is all that I got from the local yarn store day from Knit and Stitch Boutique in Cocoa Beach, Florida, and She Sells Yarn in Ormond Beach, Florida. And I am so excited that I got to be a part of that. I have the best husband in the world. I'm so grateful for him. He is so sweet to me. He is so thoughtful of me. I hate to drive. I get really anxious driving on highways. And he drove me to Knit and Stitch Boutique, which is about 2 hours and 15 minutes from the house. I don't have any local yarn stores near, really that close to me. The closest one is an hour away, which is She Sells Yarn. So we drove down to Knit and Stitch first, and then we drove up to She Sells Yarn. And I'm very grateful that he was willing to do that for me. And on top of that, we have 2 boys, a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old, and he took them to the park while I was in Knit and Stitch so I could kind of relax. And then on the way to She Sells Yarn, the boys fell asleep and he drove around a little bit so they would stay asleep while I was inside of She Sells Yarn. That is all I had to share with you this week. I'll have that little vlog at the end if you guys want to hang out, stay around and watch that. I hope you all have a great, relaxing weekend full of stitching, and I will see you next week. Bye.